Fetcher Powell just spoke live and we streamed it on the Moonshow channel. Sadly, there is no sign of any further dovishness where the Fed would have an unprecedented large rate cut. Going into the Fed dot plot, you can see that the expected interest rate all the way until 2028 is actually the 3.4 to 3.5% level, if we're lucky 3.25%. That changes things in the way that usually you have vigorous rate cutting cycles and then rate increases. The last time we saw a stationary interest rate was back in 1995. We've covered this before, but just to reiterate, once you have stationary interest rates, markets still keep on rallying, just not at the same pace as they usually do in vigorous rate increase and rate cut cycles. So my prediction for the long term for the S&P, which is also relevant for Bitcoin, is that we keep going up. Perhaps in Q1 we see a drop into this level, maybe even lower, but keep the overall macro trend positive and increase until there is a significant rate drop. That's my baseline prediction. But in today's video, not only will we cover Bitcoin, sadly though, the short-term time frame for both Bitcoin, Ethereum, and therefore altcoins don't look too good. We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about briefly the gold to Bitcoin correlation, which we went through on the Moonshow, but I want to talk to you about it on this channel as well, and we have some breaking news to jump before ending off. Guys, if those topics sound interesting, then make sure to destroy the like button as always and subscribe to become a crypto kid for daily updates on the crypto market. Yesterday, we went live when the crypto market was dumping, and also after traveling, I was able to provide you an extra update. So if you appreciate these, destroy the like button for me and subscribe and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on critical uploads like this one. And with that said, if you've done that, let's jump into the video today. I think the most important one out of all of these things is, well, we covered the FOMC. What's super important is the short-term time frame for Bitcoin and also the macro time frame. So market's dropping because there is no sort of expectation of a further cut. The most critical line on the daily time frame, like I said yesterday, is the 11.9. Very important. Multiple times of resistance and support in Bitcoin's recent history this year. If you break below it, the final opportunity to see a bounce is going to be from the 107.5 level. So if this is broken, then this would be the ideal case scenario. I still believe in one final push to the upside for Bitcoin. If that's not the case and we're lucky, then this will be the point of inflection. We will figure that out in a few hours, I would say. Unfortunately, this scenario is looking to be a little bit more probable because when you dive into the lower time frames, the 1 hourly chart for Bitcoin looks horrific. Okay, this is no inverse head and shoulder. Maybe this ends up being the left shoulder of a larger inverse head and shoulder pattern, but this is a clear bear flag. And if we see a drop, then unfortunately the 109, the 108, the 107s will likely be retested. So on Pionex, I have a Bitcoin futures grid bot on both the Moonshow and the CryptoKid accounts to buy Bitcoin if we are to see a further drop. I think it's the CryptoKid bot that has the parameter, we spoke about it, to buy Bitcoin all the way down to 107.5 if we are to revisit it. And if we break below 107.5, then I will be exiting my long-term positions anyways for Bitcoin on weeks, which have been very profitable as I've been buying since 77K. You can sign up to both Pionex to use the trading bots or weeks for long-term positionings using the links in the description down below. So if we see a drop below that 107, 108, 109 levels, I'm out of the market anyway. So I might as well take the final opportunity to buy the dip. And if that's unsuccessful, then I close my positionings on weeks and overall, I'm going to be in profits. That's the plan I have. Bull and bear market support band still holding strong. The bull and bear market support band allows us to come to 109 with a candle body and even lower with a wick. Okay, so that sort of matches the expectation of maybe a correction and then pumping to new all-time highs. So you would have a double top and then you would have a double bottom, and that hopefully gives you enough power canceling each other out to go into new all-time highs again. But unfortunately, both for Bitcoin and for Ethereum, things do not look good. Ethereum short-term 3.9 to me looks like it's going to happen. Ethereum We've been longing since 1.5, 1.6 thousand dollars. I have a limit buy order on weeks to buy at 3902. The reason I have this is because 3902, this one right here, is pretty good support. Look at this, multiple tests in history, great level of support. That's the level I'm going to be adding to my DC positions. Right now, we're in a clear triple top formation, and it's not looking favorable. Potential lower targets, we can talk about that after 3.9, but in the short term, Ethereum looks like we can revisit that 3.9K level. So in a nutshell, that's Bitcoin, that's Ethereum. The rest of the altcoins tend to follow anyways. So if we do see a drop on Bitcoin and Ethereum, then expect a little bit of a correction on altcoins. AVAX is still very much holding strong. Great news, right? Our AVAX spot is doing very well. The reason is we have Anthony Scaramucci going in to buy over $700 million worth of AVAX tokens. So essentially an AVAX treasury company. We have the AVAX ETF, so good stuff, right, for AVAX in the short term. That's why, like BNB, that's going up because of Aster, AVAX is holding strong. I want to give you some good news before we shift into the Bitcoin gold analysis and then breaking news. Jim Cramer is bearish, so that's in the pocket. And number two, Pumptober begins in 7 days' time. So yeah, September could end up being horrible like it always is, but Pumptober and November are always good. So please, please, please keep that on the back of your mind. Bitcoin gold analysis. I won't take much of your time, but have a look at this. So there is a decade difference between these two charts. So these highs created were back in 2011. These highs were in 2021. So keep that in the back of your mind. It's not to-date exact comparison, but when you zoom out, the charts look very similar. It's just that Bitcoin is clearly lagging behind with this consolidation breakout in relative to gold's skyrocketing. I sadly don't think that this means that we're going to follow it. I don't think that's going to be the case. Gold has immense buying pressure from central banks and from foreign countries that Bitcoin just doesn't have at this moment in time. But what's going to happen in the next 5 years is, I think we're going to start seeing central banks buying Bitcoin. That's what Deutsche Bank says. And once that happens, that buying spree is going to be pretty vigorous. And I think then Bitcoin can see that massive price increases. So this is great for the next cycle because we're building those foundations in this existing cycle. Breaking news, the SEC chair announced that they will be working to pass the Bitcoin and crypto market structure bill. Well, crypto, this guy's a Bitcoiner, so it's actually crypto market structure bill in Q4 that will categorize what altcoin is a commodity, what altcoin is a security, what is a meme coin, and that amount of regulatory clarity will allow institutional investors to invest into altcoins without much hesitation. And I think that could be around the top for altcoins. So watch out for Q4. I still think the base case scenario, altcoins will do quite well going into the ending of this year, but those sort of things can end up being the top, right? Things like the market structure bill getting passed, etc., the ETFs going live. Maybe we have an extension into Q1, but after Q1, I'm not so optimistic on the market outlook for altcoins and even Bitcoin. And yeah, with that said, I think that's about it. Maybe we can mention the Morgan Stanley news. So Morgan Stanley is going to start offering e-trading for Bitcoin next year. Pretty good, giving more exposure to more clientele that can buy large chunks of Bitcoin. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic evening. Sadly, short term just doesn't look good, but it is what it is. What can we do? This is the game that we're in. Long-term consistency wins. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.